Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're tackling a natural phenomenon that I have to say sounds completely made up.
Oh, absolutely. Like something straight out of science fiction.
We're talking about sand, but not just sand that, shifts or rustles in the wind. We're talking about sand that literally things.
Or maybe booms is a better word.
Yeah, bellows even.
Exactly. And that's our mission for this deep dive, to figure out the science. How do these massive desert dunes manage to turn themselves into, well, giant low-frequency musical instruments?
Right. What is the very specific, very strict recipe you need to create what they call booming dunes?
And we should be clear about the sound itself. This isn't some faint, whisper.
No, not at all.
The descriptions we've seen are of this deep, chest-vibrating rumble. I mean, think about the sound of a huge ship's engine, or...
A spaceship taking off, that's what I read. Something you feel right under your feet.
Precisely. And it's an active thing, which is so interesting.
To trigger it, you don't just stand there and wait.
Yeah, right. You have to walk or slide down the slope. The moment that top layer of sand starts to move, to shear off, that's when the sound begins.
It's this immediate, powerful geological event.
And the power is what's so striking. It's strong enough to travel for, well, miles.
It's not just the person on the dune who hears it.
No. Entire camps of people nearby have reported hearing this clear, sustained, low note echoing across the desert.
You can see why it has such a rich history then, all this myth and folklore around it.
Of course. If you were an ancient traveler and you heard the desert itself start to boom, what would you think? It was a sound that was just beyond explanation.
So you'd attribute it to the supernatural.
Absolutely.
Mm.
Many of the old accounts connect it to the voices of the unseen, the jinn.
Spirits in the sand.
A sound coming from the very core of the earth with no obvious source. It must have been terrifying.
But interestingly, it wasn't always seen as a frightening sound, was it?
Yeah.
Our sources point to another interpretation.
That's such a fascinating nuance. In some older Arabic texts, it was actually called Yumian Siempia,
Which means?
roughly the singing sands of joy, or even ecstasy.
So, not terrifying at all. Almost euphoric.
It suggests that while the sound was huge and mysterious, the feeling of the vibration itself was genuinely musical, like an instrument, not just a random frightening noise.
That distinction is so important. It's the difference between a roar and a resonant note. And that really brings us from the myth to the acoustics of it.
Mm-hmm.
So the core question is, how? How do millions of tiny inert grains of sand generate that kind of energy? There's no speaker, there's no amplifier.
And this is where we have to zoom in right down to the microscopic level. The answer is in the physics of friction.
But see, that's what's confusing. Friction is usually chaotic. If I rub two handfuls of sand together, I get a hiss, a shushing sound.
Right, a messy, high-frequency sound.
So why does a dune produce a deep, sustained boom? Where does that low frequency come from?
Because it's not chaotic friction, it's coordinated, it's synchronized. The sound happens when that top layer of sand slides down the face of the dune in what scientists call a stick-slip motion.
Ah, okay, the stick slip mechanism, where two surfaces kind of grip and then release over and over.
Exactly. It's the same principle as bowing a violin. The bow drags the string for a moment, that's the stick, tension builds, and then the string snaps back, the slip.
Creating a vibration, a note.
A note at a specific frequency. And with the dune, you have millions and millions of grains all doing that stick slip dance at the exact same moment.
So that's where the uniformity comes in. They all have to be the same.
They have to be. If you have different sizes or jagged shapes, some grains would stick longer, some would slip faster.
And you just get that chaotic hiss again. The sound would cancel itself out.
Precisely. But if the grains are almost perfectly uniform, same size, same shape, the friction between all of them is standardized, so when gravity finally pulls that top layer down,
They all slip together.
they all slip at the same time in coherence. That collective unified vibration is what creates the powerful low-frequency wave we hear. It's a concert of grains, not a chaotic crowd.
I love that analogy. A concert versus a crowd. It makes perfect sense. So the silence of most sand is just as significant in a way.
It really is. It shows just how much natural geological perfection is required to make this happen.
Which explains why it's so rare. You can't just go to any beach or desert and expect a concert.
Not at all. There's a very strict recipe.
Okay, let's unpack that recipe. The sources list 4 critical non-negotiable conditions.
Yeah.
And if you miss just one, the music stops.
That's right. The sand goes silent. The first 2 are all about purity and dryness.
Right. So number 1, the sand has to be extremely dry.
Bone dry. And that extends to the environment itself. The whole area needs to be hot or at least consistently arid.
Because any moisture would, what, act like a glue?
Essentially, yes, moisture creates cohesion. That surface tension from water makes the grains start to stick to each other. It gums up the works.
It acts like a cushion, killing that stick-slip
But
motion.
it completely dampens the vibration. Yep, so that's one. And number two is cleanliness. The sand has to be totally free of clay and fine dust.
Why to dust? It seems so insignificant.
You'd think so, but even those microscopic particles get between the grains and act like a lubricant.
Ah, so they prevent the stick part of the stick slip? They just let everything slide too smoothly?
Exactly. It prevents that perfect, friction-based energy transfer you need for the sound. Purity is absolutely essential for resonance.
Okay, so bone dry and squeaky clean. What about the sand grains themselves, their physical shape?
This brings us right back to that idea of uniformity. The grains themselves have to be almost perfectly spherical.
Like tiny marbles?
Pretty much. Not jagged, not flat, not angular, little polished spheres.
And why is that specific shape so important?
Well, think about it. A sphere rolls and slides in a very predictable, consistent way. An angular grain will catch, it'll tumble, it'll move erratically.
So with spheres, when that top layer of sand finally starts to slide,
All the grains move in the same way, at the same rate. It ensures that unified, synchronized vibration we were talking about, and that's what produces the single, sustained low note.
it's astounding. The level of precision nature needs to achieve just to make a sound, it really is a story about acoustical physics, not just geology.
It really is. It highlights that it takes millions of years of just the right climate and just the right geology to create a dune that can pull this off. It's a very high bar.
And yet, despite that high bar, it's a global phenomenon. It's not just in one desert.
No, which suggests that these perfect conditions, while rare, can and do exist on multiple continents.
So where in the world can you actually go to hear this? Where are the hot spots?
Well, one of the most famous is the Rub al Khali Desert, the empty quarter in the Arabian Peninsula.
Right, which has these enormous star dunes, I believe.
It does, and those complex formations can create these huge sliding faces, which in turn generate some of the loudest booms ever recorded.
And then you have the Namib Desert in southern Africa.
A fantastic example. The Namib is one of the world's oldest and driest coastal deserts. So the wind there has had literally millions of years to sort and polish those sand grains to perfection.
Just incredible. And then there's the Gobi Desert in Asia, and the sources also mention specific dune fields right here in America. So it really does happen all over the world, as long as those strict requirements are met.
What's amazing to me is the scale. These aren't just little sandboxes. You need these massive geological structures to maintain that purity and dryness over huge areas.
And that's what creates enough mass, enough moving grains to generate a sound that powerful. The location really just underscores that it's less about the specific mineral and more about the perfection of the conditions,
Yeah.
the uniformity of the grains.
So, to bring it all together, we started with a sound that seemed mythological, the voice of a djinn or a spaceship buried under the sand. But the reality is just this beautiful piece of physics. You need this perfect blend of uniformity spherical grains of the same size and a hyper-specific environment, dry, clean, hot to turn a silent landscape into this deep soundscape. It's a wonderful reminder that sometimes the most bizarre effects in nature hide some pretty simple science. The source is connected to other oddities, like the strange sounds you get from certain types of breaking snow or the Mpemba effect.
Where hot water freezes faster than cold water.
Right. It's another case of ordinary materials producing extraordinary results when the conditions are just right.
So we've learned this incredible deep sound comes from friction, but friction that's been perfectly synchronized by the shape and movement of millions of identical grains.
Which leaves us with a final thought for you to consider. We know the sound is all about perfect alignment and coordinated motion.
Right.
So if we could somehow engineer those factors, the spherical shape, the absolute dryness, the coordinated slide into other common loose materials around us, what might happen?
You mean like massive piles of salt? Or finely ground glass beads?
Exactly. What other silent objects might suddenly start generating their own bizarre, deep acoustic phenomena? The deserts are singing, but with the right push, maybe other things could too.
A deep dive into the resonant sounds of the world's most unique deserts. Until next time.